There's a lot of NFL draft rumors swirling, and we're going to get to them here on Patriots Today. My name is Harrison Graham from Chat Sports. Drake Maye, Caleb Williams, lots of stuff to discuss here on the channel. And I encourage you guys to turn on your notifications if you've already subscribed. If you haven't, hit the sub button, then turn on those noties, because what happens here at Patriots Today, we're doing more and more content. And if you don't have notifications turned on and selected to all, you're not going to get notified right when we publish videos. You might get a notification later, but hit the sub button, turn on the bell, select all. That way you know exactly when we publish new content and go live here on Patriots Today. Okay, let's get into Dane Brugler of The Athletic, his first mock draft, and certainly an interesting one with the Patriots currently sitting with the number 3 pick. This is how the top 3 fell in his first mock. Caleb Williams, number 1 to the Bears. They, of course, have Carolina's pick there. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Arizona Cardinals at 2. Drake Maye to the New England Patriots at number 3. And this would be a dream scenario if the Patriots don't get a top 2 pick and could still get one of the top 2 quarterbacks. Here's what Brugler had to say of the Patriots QB situation. He says, with their quarterback situation in shambles, yikes, the Patriots have a bottom 5 offense. In his 24 years as a head coach in New England, Bill Belichick has never drafted in the top 5, but this season is certainly trending in that direction. That's the bad news. The good news, this is a great draft for a quarterback-needy team to own an early pick. Maye is a young player and not without his faults, but he has promising talent and more big-time throws on his tape than any other passer in this class. Now, would you be happy if the Patriots drafted Drake Maye? Type Y for yes, or you can type in for no. Curious to see where Patriots fans are at this point in time. I'd be thrilled. Forget happy. I mean, it would be awesome just to be in position to get Drake Maye or Caleb Williams, but to not have to trade up if you're picking outside the top 2, which, by the way, I still think there's a pretty good chance the Patriots are going to slide up to that number 2 pick. But if they did get the number 3 pick and Arizona's picking 2 and decides to keep Kyler Murray, then there is a chance that Drake Maye could slide to that 3rd selection, and that would be huge. That way you're not having to give up future capital to move up a spot or 2. And Drake Maye put together 2 really good seasons at North Carolina. The accuracy dipped a little this year, but some of that was due to drops. In fact, a lot of it was. I'm not concerned that the overall statistics were down. He still played really, really well. He's still the same caliber prospect in terms of size, mobility, arm strength, all that good stuff. The Justin Herbert player type comp is real. Big arm, mobile athlete, big size as well. And obviously, Drake Maye, North Carolina, Rohlioff, Super Pats and Super Tar Heels fan. This is your dream scenario. I mean, if you woke up on draft night and ended up with Drake Maye, I think you'd be the first person to buy a jersey.
Yeah, I mean, it would be already ordered to Rohlioff's house on spot. It would not leave that night without a jersey for sure. But listen, this is to me a dream scenario, like you mentioned, Harrison. You're sitting at number 3, and obviously we did a mock draft on Tuesday of this week, and we had a draft that fell in the same way in the first round. And listen, is that the most likely scenario? Honestly, I would expect a trade at that number 2 pick if this was really the draft order to someone get to that number 2 spot for Mr. Maye. But in the current landscape, this would be a home run. I know a lot of Patriots fans on Twitter have been talking about Jaden Daniels, and people have been saying, Maye, listen, HG, this is a dead serious thing I've seen. It's just Mac Jones 2.0. I don't know why that is a thing that has been stated on Patriots Twitter, but Patriots fans, if you've seen that as well, let me clear this up. They are nothing alike. Drake Maye is better athletically. He has a better arm. The only thing that Mac was better in at college was maybe accuracy and anticipation, but he was also playing an Alabama offense where he was able to really just throw to Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle for a little bit. Drake Maye, not so lucky. So I don't see the comparisons at all, and that to me, that's just lazy. The only reason why it's being made, HG, is because coming out of high school, Drake Maye was compared to Mac Jones.
Well, and by the way, we've ripped Mac enough that the purpose of making that comparison is not to rip Mac Jones. It's just they really are nothing alike. Drake Maye, bigger athlete, better athlete. He's much more mobile. Mac Jones doesn't move that well. Drake Maye, rocket arm. Mac Jones, limited arm. So that they're just not comparable as prospects. I mean, That's the bottom line. And then, for the record, I like Jaden Daniels, but top 2 or 3, that's the Drake Maye, Caleb Williams range. Jaden Daniels in this mock from Brugler did go number 7, and he could get into that conversation perhaps, but right now he's just not there. So if you're picking in the top 2 or 3, you want to end up with Caleb Williams or Drake Maye. And obviously, if they're picking where they're at, if they move up a spot, they're going to be in a great position to do that in a few months. So that's why losing is big. It sucks in the moment, but if you end up with Caleb Williams or Drake Maye, certainly a good silver lining if you are a New England Patriots fan. Speaking of Caleb Williams, some rumors around him have been circulating in recent days. We're going to address those and how that could directly impact the Patriots' chances of landing a quarterback in this draft. But first, I do want to talk about our sponsor today. That is Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app out there. And I'll tell you what, there's not a much better weekend in sports than this one. You got college football conference championship games. You got NFL games starting or all weekend long as well. You've got NBA still going. You've got college basketball underway. You've got the NHL. I cannot wait to watch all these games, and I can't wait to put some money down with Prize Picks. We've got a little 4-player entry here. Geno Smith, I'm going to go less on the passing yards for him. Give me the more on CeeDee Lamb. He's having a monster year, a little Thursday night action for Dallas. Tony Pollard, more on his numbers as well. And then Jason Myers, more than 1.5 field goals also. I think Dallas gets some red zone stops against Seattle. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS. Thursday night football should be a lot of fun if you're watching. Get some picks in for tonight. But if you're watching Friday or later, those were our picks. But guess what? Games Saturday, college football, or Friday night, Pac-12 championship. Saturday, more college football. Sunday, you got the NFL as well. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use our code CLNS as well. Okay, let's talk about Caleb Williams, as he's reportedly still debating about whether or not to declare for the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, you do see this sometimes where, like, reports and like comments from players come out and people are like, oh, maybe he'll go back to school. They rarely do, especially guys like Caleb Williams that at worst are going to go, number 3 in the draft if Maye and Marvin Harrison go top 2. Like, there's almost no scenario where he falls outside the top 3, and he's still the clear favorite to go number 1. Now, Caleb Williams, after USC wrapped up their disappointing 7-5 season, did have this to say. He said, I've never been in a situation where I'm 7-5 and there's no playoff hopes at the end of the season. I'm dealing with it emotionally, dealing with it spiritually and physically. I get where he's coming from. They did not have the type of season they were expecting. They were considered national championship contenders. They were nowhere close to that. Caleb Williams told the LA Times it's a game-time decision on whether or not he'll declare for the draft. So I get that. And a part of me respects it, like, if he is actually considering going back. Like, you're only in college once. You only get to play college football for, up to a handful of years. But there's just too much on the line to go back to college. There's just too much money. Like, again, worst case, you're going top 3. What if he goes back and gets hurt? What if he goes back and regresses? I don't think he regressed this year, but the numbers were down. What if he legitimately regressed? Like, the numbers went down again. The tape was bad next year. Like, there's just too much at stake if you're Caleb Williams. And he's put so much good film and so much good body of work out there already. I get he didn't reach his goals in terms of winning at USC, but he won a Heisman Trophy. He brought USC back to the Pac-12 championship game last year. Yes, this year's a disappointing in terms of wins and losses, but this is one of those times where, like, my advice to him would be like, you got to just be a little selfish here. You got to go. USC can figure it out, and you got to go make your money and take the next step in the NFL. Now, will Caleb Williams declare for the draft? Type S for no, he will stay in college, or L for yes, he will leave. I still think he's leaving. Maybe there's a 5 to 10% chance he goes back to school, but this is where I want to bring Rohlioff back in here in just a moment as you guys look at the upcoming NFL draft order. This is where, if he did go back to USC for another season, that would absolutely impact what the Patriots can do. Even if they do get up to number 2, Rohlioff, then you got to trade up to number 1 if you want Drake Maye, because if the Bears are sitting with that top pick, they're either going to take Drake Maye or they are going to start an auction and say, hey, best offers, let's go. We saw him do it last year, and this year, I think Drake Maye is a better prospect than Bryce Young. I think the cost only goes up if Caleb Williams pulls out of this draft because it's Drake Maye, then it's a clear drop-off.
Yeah, this would be a nightmare scenario for New England if Caleb Williams goes back to USC for another year. And just like you mentioned, because Drake Maye will be the clear-cut number one quarterback in this class. He'll likely go number one overall either to Chicago or someone will have to trade up for Maye to that number one spot. Maybe it's New England who has to go trade up for him. But that's the thing. They would have to pivot. Instead of Maye potentially falling into their lap at 2 or 3.
Or even Williams.
Yeah,
Either
they would
one.
have to give up assets to go draft one of those guys. And say Chicago says, nope, we're not trading him. We're going to stay there at number one and take Drake Maye. Well, then Marvin Harrison Jr. will definitely go number 2 because there's no reason why the Cardinals would trade out of that spot. And then it leaves New England at a horrific spot at 3 if they are there come April, where it's like, are we reaching on Jaden Daniels? We love Jaden Daniels. We were the founders of the Jaden Daniels fan club here at Chat Sports. Number 3 overall is way too rich for me. So do you go offensive line then? It would create a domino effect where it would only hurt New England. So Caleb Williams, if you're watching this, please come to the NFL Draft. It helps New England. It helps you. Do not screw us. It would just put us in a bad spot, man. I would, honestly, I'm not kidding. If he went back to school, Maye, Harrison 1-2, New England sitting there at 3, it would be one of the few times that I would actually be happy with trading back.
Yeah,
Take some assets, move back to maybe 6 or 8, maybe take Daniels or Penix there, or take Malik Neighbors and just acquire some assets.
Yeah, I think, and look, hopefully if you're New England, you just get to that number 2 pick so you have more options. If you sit at 2 and Maye is gone and Williams is back in college, well, you can either trade or draft Marvin Harrison, or a lot of teams would like to have Marvin Harrison. You could trade down, but I still got to think Caleb Williams is going pro. Like, I get he's caught up in the emotions of it, but it would legitimately surprise me if he did not do that. Okay, that's going to do it for today's episode of Patriots Today. Thank you guys for tuning in. My name is Harrison Graham. We will be back soon with more Patriots content. Be sure to subscribe.